If you're an EU agent, UK estate agent, or anywhere in the world working with US referrals, there are some things that could surprise you about how real estate is practiced here in the United States. In the US, for example, buyers don't just work with agents, they often have a formal agreement with them. So, in many countries, buyers simply respond to a listing ad or a publicly for sale home and reach out to the seller's agent. Here in the US, although that can be done, it's actually much more common for buyers to sign a buyer representation agreement. That agreement defines the agency relationship. Often, this includes exclusivity, where they are only working with that one agent in a designated area, for example, and for a designated period of time. So, what this also does is help clarify the compensation structure. There have been some changes in the US. We're going to dive into that in a bit, but it is spelled out in the contract. It also establishes legal and fiduciary duties. So, since those commission transparency reforms, these agreements have become even more standardized. There's actually a lot more similarity now between how these agreements look from state to state within the US, because as many of you know, laws and regulations can change from state to state, but we are generally all in accordance with National Association of Realtor guidelines. For an international client that you're referring here, it can feel a little bit unusual. It could be intimidating. It could be uncomfortable if they're not prepared. And that's the importance of having a system like the Cruz Group Coaching App. You'll be able to understand these things at a higher level and be able to share that with your clients, educating them and really putting them at ease, letting them know what the difference are and what some of the benefits are as well, possibly. So in the US, for example, the buyer's agent owes a fiduciary duty to the buyer, not to the seller. So that includes loyalty to the client, respecting their confidentiality, full disclosure. If I'm representing the buyer and I know information from the seller side of the transaction that benefits them, but doesn't necessarily benefit the seller, I have a responsibility to share that. It wouldn't be the case if I were the listing agent and they just approached me directly. There's also obviously obedience to lawful infrastructure. We are governed by local laws as well, and as well as ethics guidelines that are in place and enforced by the National Association of Realtors in order to be a member of that organization and have access, for example, to our local MLS. We do have to uphold a level of ethics, which is really important. Provide reasonable care, accounting for our transactions. So, what this also means is that we protect negotiation strategy. Right? We're always on that buyer's side if that's who we're representing in the transaction. We will disclose things like their ability to make the purchase, right? Proof of funds, that's within reason. But we're not discussing their other financial details with the seller side of the transaction. We're not sharing anything without their permission, particularly anything that could cause harm to negotiations on their side. We're advocating exclusively for the buyer's interests. And that's something that for a lot of overseas clients is new to them, it's surprising to them. But as an agent that's referring from, let's say, from Asia, from the Middle East, from Europe, you educating your clients about that shows that you have a higher level of understanding, that you're operating at a different level from most estate agents in their area, and you're also helping put them at ease. Yes, you're going to have to sign a lot of paperwork before you even get started. When you come to the US, there's a lot of information that's going to be covered that's unfamiliar with them, but they're going to have a layer of protection that they may not have had otherwise. So, why does this matter so much for cross border referrals? In addition to putting them at ease, it really helps you build your business. This can be a whole aspect of your business that maybe wasn't something you were concentrating on. You're elevating your professionalism. You're clarifying expectations for your clients. You're telling them that you're going to protect their confidentiality, not only in your local market, but across borders as well. It'll really strengthen trust with your clients. This is how we build long-term relationships. Another thing that we'll get into in the future is when it comes to our referral agreements, it's not always a one-time purchase. I do have clients that will purchase multiple properties. We may agree, if it makes sense in that situation, and that's all negotiable as well between agents, to keep a referral agreement in place because there's going to be multiple purchases. And you as an agent on the other side of making that referral will continue to reap benefits from those future purchases. So these are some things that we'll go into detail a little bit later when we discuss how referrals are structured here in the US. But there's a bigger vision here. We're not even attempting to try and change local regulations or saying that our system is better or superior in any way, or trying to get you to do things the way that we do things. Every country is going to have its own framework. Here in the United States, every state pretty much has its own framework, and that should be respected. What we're building is something different. It's a high level ecosystem of well trained, like minded global professionals who understand how these other markets operate. Having that understanding helps us to work better together because a stronger collective of understanding, then the stronger our referrals will be, the stronger our client outcomes are going to be, the stronger our professional relationships will become. So I'd really value your input, whatever market that you're working in, whether it's another state here in the US, if you're in the EU, Middle East, Asia, share details with us. How does buyer representation work in your country, if it even exists in your market? What would US agents need to understand about your system, right, in your practicing of real estate where you're located? We need your insight as we build a global network of professionals that we feel privileged to be able to work with. So definitely follow, stay in touch. These videos are going to keep coming out, the majority of which are going to be debuting on the Cruz Group Coaching App. So just keep that in mind. The Cruz Group Coaching App, train globally, operate locally, refer confidently.